This video I'm going to show you the basics of masking. So what I'm going to do is I'm in Photoshop, I went File, Open, and now I'm going to open up two images here. And in Photoshop, just so that we're all looking at the same stuff, I'm going to go to up here at the top, and no matter what mode I'm in, I'm going to change it to Essentials. Then I'm going to go one more time back in there and I'm going to say Reset Essentials, so that now, you may see a few swatches and stuff that's different in mine, but basically we have the same layout here and the toolbar, although your toolbar may look, your toolbar could look like this, or if you click up here, you can get it to go all the way down like that. So it should be pretty easy for us to work together on this. So I have one image here, the tabs up here. I want to get them into the same image. So I'm going to throw this guy here on top of the other one. And the way you do that is you just simply grab the Move tool, click on the image and drag like you're trying to move something. It won't look like anything's moving. You'll just get that little indicator that I have up there. We're going to go over the tab of the other image. I'm still clicking, dragging. I haven't released the mouse. I'm going to put my mouse back down over like the middle of this image-ish and then release the mouse. And then it drops in there. And it just so happens that this image is smaller than that one. If it wasn't, then we'd only be able to see, the part of it that wasn't. But what I want to show you on masking is sometimes it's easier to tell you what masking isn't first, or why masking is important. So what we used to have to do if we wanted to erase this guy and kind of make him look like he's part of this image is to erase his background, we'd have to take the eraser tool, and with the eraser tool selected, I can make my mouse a little bit bigger here so we can see the cursor for it. You can swipe away as long as this image is selected, this layer. You can swipe away and actually erase. And for the most part, that works pretty good. The problem is once you start getting close, you have to decide, do I want a hard brush? Do I want a soft brush? And the problem is if I accidentally erase some feathers away and then save this and come back the next day, they're gone. I can't go backwards. So I'd have to get out the original image if I still had it, and so on and so on. So that's not what you want to do. So I Command Z to go backwards on the erasing. Masking allows you to not see those pixels, but not in a destructive way like erasing does. So here's how you mask. You go to the layer that you want to mask, you go down to this icon right here, kind of looks like a camera, click on it, and then this little mask shows up. So now there's two entities to this layer. There's the image itself and there's the mask. And what happens is the mask is a way of concealing or revealing elements in the image. So the parts of the mask that are white, we can see all of the image. The parts that are black, we can't see the image. And the parts that are somewhere in between kind of work like a transparency. So what I'll do to make this a little bit clearer is I'll go up here and I'll grab the paintbrush tool. I'm going to take and reset my foreground and background colors, and I'm actually going to flip-flop them so black is on top. So, and I'm going to use the left and right bracket keys here to make my brush bigger and smaller. So I'm just keep on clicking the right bracket and you can see that brush is getting bigger. And now it almost looks like I'm just using the eraser tool, but look over here at the preview. You can see that some black was painted in here. So I'll keep painting and you can see that even more black shows up over here. And I'll keep doing that. And you can see even more. And if you want to see the mask for whatever reason, you can option click on this part of the layer that represents the mask, and the mask shows up here. So you can see, sometimes it helps to see if you're really painting gray which would give you transparency. I'm going to talk more about the options, but I want to cover, and to get back to this, I'm just going to click right here in the layer. I just want to talk about a few things that you should probably know right away. If you want to do masking on this layer, Photoshop gives you the default image as a background layer. So if I select the background layer, I can click mask, put a mask on it, it automatically changes it to layer 0. Now, if I start to draw or color or paint, however you want to call it, in this layer, same thing happens like before, but what is this right here? This is it's called a checkerboard pattern, and it represents transparency. It means that you'd be able to see through this. If you actually wanted to see through it, like say to a solid color, then what you'd have to do is make a layer below this one. So I'll click on this layer 0. I'll click on the new layer icon. New layer shows up. I'll drag it below. In fact, you know what? I'll leave it there for now. And I'm going to color it with, say, like a color blue. So pick a bluish color here, click OK, and then I will do Option Delete to fill this color in with my foreground color. So there's our Option Delete. Now notice it's on top of that layer, so now I'll click and bring it underneath, and now instead of seeing the transparency, you see the blue of that layer. Click the eyeball, and because that layer is off, we see that transparency grid. So now let's go back and talk about some more options that are available to you when you're masking. So as I said, I can paint black in here, and black conceals, white reveals. What if I'm getting in here closer, and I think I'm doing the right thing by making the paintbrush a little smaller and doing some finite work here down to the background, but I don't even realize that I made like a little bit of a mistake here, and I cut away some details in the process. The beauty of this is even if I save this document, come back 10 days later, I can go to this go to this layer, this mask. I can flip-flop my painting so that white is now in the foreground, and I can start to paint again on this mask, and it just magically comes back. If I go to black and I change the opacity of the black, which is kind of the same as painting with gray, and I paint in here, then it's like every brush stroke that I make starts to become more opaque or less transparent, but I'm basically creating transparency where I can see through this image to what is behind it. It's probably a little more obvious if we do it like here, where you'll start to be able to see the hand through it. And another attack at that will show you a little bit more, so on. So the most significant thing about masking is that it allows you to go back and forth, because you'll find that it is very hard sometimes to make things look realistic when you're trying to put them in another background. And the nice thing is, if you did some stuff like this and you're like, what was I thinking when I did that? You just go back to full black, or actually, I'm sorry, full white, and just paint it back in. And then you can make your mouse, I'm going to go back to black, you can make your mouse a lot smaller. And like I said, you use the bracket keys to do that real quickly on the fly, but you can also open up the brush options up here, and you can pick a smaller size by doing that instead of using the brackets, and you can change the hardness of the brush. And sometimes having a softer edge will give you, you see how you get kind of that soft, and maybe that might work better, bringing you into the background. Now, there's also methods of making selections based on the parts you're trying to get rid of or the parts that you're trying to keep, and reversing that selection. That's something that I'm going to let you discover as part of the class. Um, but if you just simply keep in mind that black conceals, white reveals, anything in between creates a transparency, you can start to see that this can be very, very powerful for, like I said, putting something into a background where it doesn't normally belong, or wasn't photographed in. But also you can do some weird effects. So I'm going to go back to just having this all shown. So what I'll do is I'll just click to make sure that I am indeed about to paint on the mask. And I'm going to Command Delete to fill this with the background color. So now you see it's all white, and I'll go ahead and do the same to this one as well. So now we're right back where we started from. I'm going to double click on the hand to bring me into focus, and I'm going to do something here where I'll make this the same size as this image. And actually I made a, okay, let me escape and I'll show you what I need to do here. I need to select the image that I want to increase the size of. Then I do Command T. It gives me these little handles around it. I'm going to move this in place here, and then I'm going to hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions and make this the same size as the image. Then I'll hit return. So that was Command key up, Command T, resize, hit return. Now I'm going to go on to, and let me show you a key thing here. If I go onto the mask itself and I paint with black, that's going to get rid of an area in the image, right? Be careful of this, though. I'm going to Command Z that backwards. If I click here and I paint, I'm painting in the image. So Command Z that again. So you do have to have the layer selected. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to select the layer. I'm going to grab the gradient tool. I'm going to, from this drop down, pick a gradient that goes from black to white. And then I'm going to take the gradient tool, my mouse now, and I'm just going to click and drag from this corner to this corner. And now I have this bizarre ghosting effect where this image of the bird is completely gone over here, and it starts to become more dominant over here. To give you a better idea of that, I'll shut the layer off underneath it, and then in fact I'll even turn off the layer below that, and you can see there's your transparency grid. So it really opens up a lot of different things that you can do with images, and the beauty of it is that you can completely undo it. I just painted white in there again by doing Command Delete.